Hi folks, this is Gora Radio Moscow here again with another beer review. Today I am going for Negra Modelo, which comes from Mexico. Now Grupo Modelo, who produced this beer, were founded in 1922 and they're currently the leading brewing company within Mexico. They're based in Mexico City, but they have 7 different brewing facilities throughout the country, and the combined brewing capacity of these is 60 million hectolitres, which is obviously a hell of a lot of beer. Now, the company export beer to several different countries. Their export brands include Corona, which is obviously a very, very well-known beer and throughout the world, but they also export Modelo and Pacifica. In addition to the Modelo Negra, you also get the Modelo Especial, which is in a clear bottle with a blue label on it. And Pacifico, you tend to find Pacifico down as Pacifico Clara, which is in a normal kind of Budweiser style 330ml bottle with a yellow label. Hopefully I can get that at some stage to review for you as well. But they also, Grupo Modelo also have several domestic beers. They also brew one called Victoria Estrella, which is obviously different from the one that is found in Spain. And they also have Leon and Montejo, which are all exclusively for the domestic market. However, Leon and Montejo, I understand, have become more available internationally now. Now, quite recently, Anheuser-Busch, which are a Brazilian, Belgian-owned beer manufacturer, the world's largest brewer, they make Hoegaarden and Budweiser, Beck's and beers like that. But in 2012, they had a 50% non-controlling stake within Grupo Modelo, but they tried to acquire the remaining 50% with a £20 billion cash buyout. But the US Justice Department filed an antitrust suit into this, and so the company is no longer allowed to export their beer into the States, which is a shame because they seem to in my opinion, make some pretty nice beer. But I'll just let you have a little look at the bottle again here. As you can see, it's a very unusually shaped bottle. So it's got a very nice little bit of label on it. You can see the lions there and the crest and everything like that. It's got a similar sort of foil top to a lot of the Czech beers. It's quite popular in Eastern Europe to have this kind of foil top here. But the bottle cap, unfortunately, for this one is a little bit shitty. It's just a little foil thing here. But this particular beer itself, Negra Modelo, it was first brewed in Mexico by Austrian immigrants, and it was introduced as a draft beer in 1926. So I've had this one before. I had this in my local pub and thought it was a really, really nice beer. But we'll get it poured and have a little look at it. As you can see, it's it's quite a dark beer. There's not much of a head on this one really. It's very, very clear. No sort of haziness to it at all. Very nice. You can see it's a kind of very, very dark amber. It's not got any sort of redness to it or anything like that. It's a very nice looking beer actually. Very nice. I'll just give it a little smell. Surprisingly, it doesn't have very much of a nose to it. Usually these like darker beers like this have a very kind of strong nose to it. You can smell a little bit of kind of roasted malts in it. And I'd want to say there's a little bit of caramel, maybe a kind of little bit of grassiness to it as well. But like I say, it really doesn't have a very strong nose to it at all, which is a little bit disappointing, I guess. But as you can see, like I said, the head was very, very thin. It's kind of faded now. There's not even a very light foam over that at all. There's very, very clear beer, very little in the way of carbonation by looking at it. We'll just give it a little taste then. Oh, it's quite nice. It tastes very, very roasty, I would say. You can get sort of roasted malts in it. Like I say, that kind of follows on from the nose, but the nose is very, very weak. There's a sort of walnutty taste to it. It's got a little light hint of caramel as well. You can get that, and the sort of caramelly burnt sugar type thing. I'm not really detecting any of the the kind of grassiness that I said you could detect a little bit in the nose, but like I say, it's very, very weak nose. It's mainly the roastiness you get from this one. Roasted malts is your definitely your most predominant flavour in this. It's very very smooth, but it's there's the smoothness of it seems, I think, gives a bit of an impression of wateriness to it. It's a very nice sort of drinking beer. It's very smooth. The carbonation is quite nice on the tongue actually. It's very kind of light bodied. I would say in terms of stuff to drink this beer with, it's maybe good for sort of, having it's a good beer for barbecuing. I would say this beer would go very nicely with barbecuing. I can think of some other beers that would go a bit better with barbecue than this one, or that I would rather have, but I'll get to those in due course with the reviewing. But I would say with this one, this is probably my favourite Mexican beer. The other beers which I'll review for you at a later date are kind of, they all have that a sort of more generic taste. This is a more unique Mexican beer, which I would say if you've got a selection of beers from Mexico to try, definitely take this one as your first choice. Like I say, it's unusual because of the fact that it's a dark beer. Most of the other Mexican beers are lagers, very light lagers. This one has a little roasty, darker flavour to it, which is always very nice. But yeah, it's overall my favourite Mexican beer. But thanks again for watching the reviews. Let me know your own thoughts on the beer. Subscribe, like the channel, everything like that. Thanks very much again for watching, and I'll be back soon. Cheers.